Cannon Street Art Center is ready for its prime time. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down one-on-one with City of Charleston's Office of Cultural Affairs Director, Scott Watson. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And listen to this interview later on iHeartRadio.
Scott Watson, it's so good to see you again.
Morning, Quintin.
How are you?
Wonderful.
Yeah, it is wonderful because we're sitting here now in the new Cannon Street Art Center in downtown Charleston. And you know, as I was walking in with you and you were giving me an actual tour, I told you I felt like this is still a church. I know that this is now a performing space for both the Pearl Theater and other performing activities in Charleston. What does this space feel like to you?
Well, I think it does, retain a wonderful character that you're in a special space. We're the Holy City, and here in Charleston, we're better to put the performing arts than in a church sanctuary that had just seen its congregation progressively move off the peninsula. Mm-hmm. So this building, which dates to 1964, it's a great example of very resourceful and industrious architecture and engineering for two congregations that merged to create Zion Olivet Presbyterian Church, which by the time the church was sold to a private developer, they were down to about 7 congregants who lived downtown. So now they're still a very robust congregation, but just up in North Charleston and Rivers Avenue. Yeah. So, it does feel like we've taken what was an important community space, this home church, this church that traces its legacy and lineage back, not just decades, but generations to Zion Presbyterian, moving out of Second Presbyterian. And rather than see this building torn down or used for retail or some other commercial use, it's great to use it as a community facility that supports the arts and culture. So we've been able to carve out in Sanctuary a nice, very comfortable performance space, which also has been used already for lectures and presentations as well. And then in what kind of served as the Sunday school groups, fellowship hall, kitchen, that area serves as a flexible exhibition space where we've had everything from 2 days of Kwanzaa community drop-ins with dancing and drumming and face painting, and food, of course. Yes. To 2 weeks ago, we had an event with the Gullah Society called Agunluntunji, which used that space both to present proposals for an eventual monument at the Gilliard, where the remains of 36 ancestors of African descent were disrupted during the renovations. And as I said, they had lectures from leading scientists who are working with them here, as well as Ronnie Leon, the architect of the memorial at the Federal Building in Lower Manhattan, where a similar disruption had happened, presented his thoughts on how you memorialize and how you recognize the fact that dislocating, disrupting, changing the experience for one small representative group actually speaks to a far greater social disruption that can never fully be addressed through a monument or a marker, but needs to be present in our minds as we try to reconcile ourselves to the histories of slavery, Jim Crow, to present day social inequities.
What are the social issues in this community right now?
Well, it's a great neighborhood, but it certainly is a neighborhood that's in transition. It's hard to not drive over a nail some days because pretty much every last remaining parcel that looked like it was, dilapidated to a point of demolition by neglect is now actually under renovation. We have a tunneling project for the drainage, right, just down on the corner. Right. And we have surface lots used largely by the Medical University, which inevitably won't be surface lots in 20 to 30 years' time. The future development will continue to come in. But when you walk around the neighborhood, you really do see a great community spirit. It may not be all the same families who lived here or worshipped here in the 50s and 60s and 70s, but it certainly is still a strong neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that my family resides in. We live just off of Rutledge Avenue, and so we sit aside, a couple that just moved here from Tampa, Florida, who moved into a renovated duplex, but we also moved next door to a woman and her sister who were born on the block, and not in the same house. They moved into the house that they're in now, but they share, there are as many cousins and second cousins around the neighborhood as there are this new mixture of recent arrivals.
And let me talk more about the community, because obviously we also have, as you mentioned, Medical University of South Carolina, but right behind us is Burke High School. Tell me, how do you hope to bring those two entities to this particular center?
Well, I think it's more than just Burke. It's that we're here, not just around the corner from where Dart Hall was on Cracky Street, but between Mitchell, James Simmons, Math and Science, Simmons Pinckney, Burke, even Meminger, but equally, there's also Ashley Hall. We have a lot of young people who are proximate to this space. And so there'll be a combination of working with artists who are able to be in residence here and going out to the schools, which is something the Office of Cultural Affairs has always helped facilitate. But this gives us a more direct opportunity by having a year-round presence rather than just during Piccolo Spoleto or during Mojo. We also hope that there will be projects out of the schools that will want to come in here. I can't say that we can take the Cannon Street Wise holiday dance recital, because that actually fills up more than Burke. They could probably pack in 1,000 folks for that show, but we'd be happy to have holiday programs, student performances here on the stage, exhibitions in the other space. Because again, we're recognizing that there's an awful lot of the community that has talent and more creativity than they can capture on a page or in a single song. But what we haven't had is the availability of an affordable space for presenting these artistic opportunities.
You talked about Mojo Arts and Piccolo Spoleto. We are here in March. How's the Piccolo Spoleto going for this year in your mind?
It's gone great. This is the time where we're at our busiest, just trying to make sure that everything that people have proposed is what they in fact are going to be capable of doing and wanting to do. We're excited about opportunities like having this space, which will really let us have a hub of activity. And I should say that, evenings and weekends, we rent the surface lot from the venue next door, so this becomes even better. This is a Piccolo Spoleto venue with parking.
Yes.
And right now we're, still keeping things under wraps. We don't want to, just have the information trickle out. But so I've seen the poster image. We're working on the galleys for the program, building the website. I think people are going to be really excited, and look forward to seeing everybody on May 24th at the Custom House for the CSO Sunset Serenade concert. And again, it's a great opportunity to bring such a far-flung enterprise together. But the true wonder of Piccolo Spoleto is in each of the individual artists' participation, whether it's out at Marion Square with the outdoor art exhibition or whether it's a youth music program. This year we're trying to bring in some more dance programming and carved out some room at the music hall for that. So, it really shows everything Charleston has to offer. And, we're just getting everything we need in place so that we can make sure this festival this year is a complete success.
And I know that obviously the renovations just wrapped up here at the Cannon Street Art Center. What else is left in your mind?
Well, really where we are now is trying to get the word out. We want people to know that, here we are. There's been this perception for so long that you can't get access to space. The Gilliard is a big hall, and if you want to go into one of the salons, you have to build out everything from the seats coming out, rented in, and so now's the opportunity for us to really engage with the community and show not just here's a facility, but how can we help you achieve your vision for that space. And that's something that I think will take a little bit of time. It's not, the people that are the most anxious to know how much our rates are for renting the hall tend to be the users we're not going to be accommodating. Weddings, private receptions. This is a space that's being supported by the city of Charleston to make room for the arts and culture. So we'll now be in a position where we can help guide people through a process. We certainly don't want anybody to come to us with a project that they then wind up holding the bag that didn't sell as many tickets or the production expenses got ahead of them. We want to work closely with people to make sure that they size and scale their ambition for what this space can support, recognizing that a great run here at 110 seats could recommend contacting Queen Street Playhouse or the Dock Street for subsequent runs.
And you talk about the arts and culture. What is that future? What is the state of arts and culture in Charleston now?
Well, I think it's strong. We wouldn't be looking to create spaces for arts ensembles and cultural groups if there wasn't the demand. But I do think it's in transition. I think that we're seeing a maturity of certain very large organizations, whether it's the Symphony, Spoleto, the Gibbs, things that have decades of history behind them. But we're also seeing things that are between 10 and 20 years old that are coming into a new position of sustainable maturity, and that's healthy. What we're most anxious to see from our end at the Office of Cultural Affairs is those practitioners who are just starting out, those practitioners who may not have had the chance to do something outside of when they were in college. And that's where we're hoping that some of these groups that may be a little bit more established can take some time and carve out some room to mentor and help groom work. So that's a good example of the dynamic we have here with Pure, where Pure will be in residence and put on their annual season. That breaks out, including the rehearsal periods, to be about half the year. Well, by having their staff here in place and not having to swap out lights and sound equipment every time somebody wants to put on a show, we can take a theater practitioner who may not have the same depth of experience and allow them to work with Pure staff, paying the same sorts of rates they would pay, if they just called up a friend to help them with their show, and wind up with a more professional production. And I think that that's really something where we'd like to see Cannon Street operate in a way where it helps elevate some smaller groups' capacity by taking some of the financial pressure off, but also by giving them access to better skilled technicians and directors, people who just from past experience would know, yes, you could do that, but here's why a better option is to try this plan. And in terms of the arts overall, it's always going to be an uphill climb. Artists do things out of passion and love and inspiration, not out of assessing the bottom line. We are actively working with the city's Arts Commission to frame priorities for our cultural planning process. And some of it, I mentioned, we're working with the dance community on programs for Piccolo Spoleto. We can't fix everything that has been problematic in the dance community in Charleston, but we feel that if we work closely with them, and we've had facilitated sessions where a consultant comes in from out of town, we hear points of concern, talk about opportunities, and that's what's pointing towards this shared program, which would be on Sunday, May 26th at the Charleston Music Hall. We feel that if people can see there's a lot to be gained by working together, they'll be more supportive of each other's efforts throughout the year and hopefully give a stronger message that the arts are vibrant and vital and a critical part of the quality of life in Charleston.
What are those other priorities?
Well, the big priority that we work on is sort of an update of the founding mission of the office. So that when Mayor Riley established the Office of Cultural Affairs, it really focused on accessibility. And that's a pretty broad word, but at some level it meant, making sure the ticket prices were reasonable and there were free opportunities and that the arts had become this rarefied thing. We look at that now in 2019 through a different prism, which is more about equitable inclusion. And saying that, not every person at the table is dealt an even hand. And some projects, just by nature of the subject matter or even by nature of the discipline, are going to be less able to rely on box office receipts to pay the majority of the share of the work, or sales of prints and originals in the gallery. There are certain practice types of arts, both performing arts and visual arts, that just are intrinsically more expensive. And it doesn't mean that we're going to be mounting grand opera in here, but we know that if somebody is an opera singer, an opera specialist, they're going to need a different arrangement. Equally, we recognize that for artists of color particularly, there aren't the same points of access of galleries or theaters wanting to champion and showcase your work. So when we look at the larger picture and we see the blind spots, we see the deficiencies, we know that we need to carve out additional time and space without as much financial pressure against it, because that artist has not had the same level of exposure that their peers might enjoy in the same discipline. And then equally, it's just been proven by studies and audits that culturally specific arts programming is always going to be more expensive than mainstream entertainment. And while people may enjoy going to see the Plantation Singers at halls for a gospel brunch, that's not to say that a gospel brunch in a King Street restaurant is the highest achievement of local African American musicians. And so we need to be ambitious and responsive. That's why we committed to things like 2 years ago for Moja, we rented the Gilliard and Charles Singleton and Nate Nelson presented the program at Duke Ellington Sacred Concerts. Those sorts of opportunities to say that we need to be aggressively championing work that wouldn't otherwise have the same path to success. And we need to be reliable, we need to be consistent. It needs to be year in, year out, we are there to work with artists of color, artists with mobility challenges. There's a whole host of work that I just salivate over because of our proximity to the medical center here, where art for those with accessibility issues, art therapy, there are just so many opportunities to reach people that we haven't historically been able to work with to the extent we would like to.
And I know you read headlines a lot. What would you want that headline to be about the Cannon Street Art Center in 2020?
Well, I think in 2020, I realize City Council would like it to say Cannon Street Art Center paying its own way. I don't think we'll get there that quickly, but I think the headline will be that the Quintin Street Art Center works. This is the sort of space that our success is not going to be one show that sells out, has to add performances. Our success is going to be every show being what it needs to be for the artists who are presenting it. Reliable, good, stable houses, 60-80% capacity on a given night, and not peaks and valleys. So really a place of work. And as you've seen from walking around, it does set up much more like a workspace than walking to the Dock Street or the Gilliard. That while we don't have a luxury of resource, just let people come in here and endlessly rehearse, develop, workshop, do readings, it does fit into the program for the building. And so we're hopeful that this space will be not just a place of presenting performing arts projects, but it can be a place for creative risk-taking, where people can take the fact that there aren't that many seats, they probably aren't going to draw that many folks through the door, and do something that's a little bit more challenging for them personally, that will test them artistically in ways that they have not previously felt confident in doing because of the financial pressures. And what I would love to see more than anything is if we could be commissioning and producing new work that tells Charleston stories back to Charleston audiences. Here we are in this just cradle of neighborhood history, national history, international history, and those stories that are generative of Charleston's past can help illuminate where we are in the present and where we need to be going in the future.
So great to hear. Well, Scott Watson, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Always a pleasure.
Likewise, thank you. I'll see you in May.